everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have some second chance romance recommendations to share with you. Second chance just so happens to be one of my favorite tropes to read. I feel like I say that in every romance recommendations video, but obviously I wouldn't do romance recommendations videos unless I really love them. Or I really love these books. Second Chance is just one that I always love to read. Sometimes I seek them out, sometimes I don't. Sometimes they just show up and I'm like, oh, okay, oh, we're doing this. Second Chance, love it. Okay, I have like 5 or 6 to share with you, so let's just go ahead and jump in. The first book is a new release, and that is Whispers of You by Catherine Cowles. I love Catherine Cowles, and this is actually the first book in her Lost and Found series, and it is her first attempt at a second chance romance. And when I tell you the second chance romance is literally like the ultimate second chance, it really is. Not only is it between our main male character and female character, it is also between him and his family. So our main character, Holt, he has gone away after something tragic happens to him and Ren, especially Ren, when they were younger, and he goes away from the town. He hasn't really been back. He visits very few times over the years, and now he's back. His father had a heart attack, so he kind of wants to be there, and he kind of has to mend this relationship with his dad, with his brothers, with Ren, and their romance is a very beautiful. I will say, Catherine Cowles does write a lot of small town romances, and while this does take place in a small town, I would say it's more romantic suspense with that second chance romance in there, only because there's a lot that happens. So what happened in the past with Holt and Ren, especially Ren, she is the one you find out right in the prologue what happens to her. There's this, oh, who's going around and doing this all over again? So it's very much mysterious, suspenseful, romantic suspense. And while that's not always my favorite thing to read, I actually did enjoy this one. I just wish it was a little bit more heavier on the romance, but that's my fault because I just assumed it was going to be like her other books, but it's more romantic suspense. But it's still a really good book. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I would highly recommend this. Ren and Holt have this very easygoing friendship, but also relationship once they get past everything that's happened. So really enjoyed this one. The next one I have is one that I recently read, and that is Pretty Ugly Promises by C.W. Farnsworth. So this is actually a mafia romance with a second chance aspect, and this one has a secret baby in there. Well, secret child, I should say, but it's like not her fault or his fault. Well, it's kind of his fault. Anyway, we see our characters when they were younger, when they are, I think, freshman or sophomore in high school. Our female character, she goes to a party, and that's where she meets our main male character, Nick, and he is, well, she doesn't know anything. He's just there living his college life. She meets him and his best friend Alex, and years go by. So they have a little, 6-month little romance, like whirlwind romance, and then something happens to where he just disappears. Him and Alex just disappear. And years later, I want to say it's 8 or 9 years later, she goes to the ER in her town, and she finds out that Alex is a doctor there, and she's like, what happened to Nick? Like, she cut her hand, that's why she's at the ER. But she's like, what happened to Nick? Where is he? And she's like, and he's like, why do you want to know? Like, you should just leave it alone. Well, turns out that he became mafia boss when his family passed away. His family was killed. The next in line, he's the youngest brother, but his brothers and his father was killed, so he had to go take over at being, I think he was 18 or 19. And she tells Alex, I have a son with him, and he just left me. And he's like, holy shit. So he calls Nick, and Nick just flies from Russia, picks them up. They're kind of in danger now that Nick knows about them, takes them to Russia, and that's where their second chance romance begins. And while I do not like Secret Baby or Secret Child, this one really did work for me. I really enjoyed it. I just love the mafia aspects. And C.W. Farnsworth is one that I assume that she only writes contemporary romances, like new adult-ish type things, because that's what I've read previously. But I was actually really surprised at how well the mafia aspects were done. I haven't read a lot of mafia romances lately, but I really enjoyed this one. It's her new release that released earlier this year, and I highly recommend this one because I really did love it. I love the forced proximity. I love Nick. I love everything. I love everything. The next book is The Legend by Dylan Allen. Now, this is the second book in this series. The first book follows a different couple. And while I gave the first book 4 stars, I gave this one like 3.5 stars. It's not my favorite, but it is a second chance aspect, and I know a lot of people do love it, so that's why I want to recommend it. So there was just a lot happening in this book, and I felt like it was not like everything wasn't completely like fleshed out, if that makes sense. So we have our characters. We see them at the beginning. They are really young in this super small town. His mom hates her because of her mom and what her mom does. Her mom kind of sleeps around with other people. So they own a bookstore. They open up their bookstore when she's, I think, 18. She's about to, I think, be done with high school or something like that. And he is known as the Legend. I think he plays basketball. but he's like really well known. But you see at the beginning with like the prologue, something happens with his dad. He finds out something about his dad. And then all of a sudden they kind of split up because of certain things. His mother basically blackmails them. And now it's years later, they find out, he finds out what his mother did. And then they kind of rekindle that little spark that they had, because they very much had this like friendship connection when they were younger, and they started kind of going on dates when they were younger, but nothing like really progressed from there. So I personally really enjoyed the second chance aspect of this. I just felt like things were really rushed because we spent so much time when they were younger. That's my only complaint about this book, but I would highly recommend it. I really enjoyed the romance. I love the connection between the two of them. I just wish we explored more of that when they're older, not necessarily when they were younger. So highly recommend this. The next one I have is Resting Witch Face by Juliet Cross. So this is technically the 5th book in the Stay a Spell series, but you can read them out of order. I would suggest not, but if you haven't continued, I would definitely continue. I haven't read the 4th book and I didn't feel like I missed anything, but we see in the 1st book, we see Jules and Ruben kind of introduced how they've had this thing years and years and years and years ago, but now they just like don't want to deal with each other unless it's in a professional setting. Jules is the enforcer of New Orleans. She is like one of the most powerful creatures. She is a witch. And then Ruben is one of the most powerful vampires, but you know, she's the enforcer, and they have to kind of like do things politically because he represents like vampires and stuff like that. Well, now 12 years later, they have to go on this like political tour where they're kind of like advocating for something in like their world. And they go from like Texas, they go to New England, and they actually go to England where he's from, and they see his parents, and he's kind of like, you know, like inching his way back into her life and like showing her like, I'm ready now. I'm ready. I fucked up in the past, but I'm ready now. I need you to be ready. So he like does little things, not to scare her away, but I personally really enjoyed the second chance romance. There was a little bit of a grovel there. There's that one bed forced proximity thing that I personally really enjoyed. And yeah, this was a really good second chance romance. I have been waiting for this couple since they were first introduced in the 1st book, and I love them. Absolutely love them. The next book I have is Garner Flats by Devney Perry. This one is the 3rd book in the Eden series. And while this isn't my absolute favorite book, that my favorite is not a second chance romance, I give this one 4 stars, and I would highly recommend this one. So in this one, we have our main male character. He comes back to the small town. What is it called? Quincy? Is that what it's called? Yeah, Quincy, Montana. It's been almost 2 years or something like that since the person that she loved decided to marry her best friend. And now he's back in town, and she has to deal with him being there because he is not leaving. He is like an MMA trainer. And when I say that this book has caused some stuff on Bookstagram, a lot of people didn't like the ending. I personally enjoyed it. It was very messy. It was very angsty. I mean, when you have that kind of situation where the person you love married someone else, do you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have, like, issues. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna feel something, and you're gonna have, like, to talk it out. Now, I will say, I don't want to say too much, but things are not what they seem with this, in this whole situation. There was reasonings, and that all comes out. You're trying to figure it out. Also, he's doing groveling, and also trying to prove himself. She's just trying to, like, keep him at arm's length, but that's not working as well. This is a very messy and angsty book, but there is that second chance aspect, and I personally enjoyed reading their story. I would say physically read this. I listened to the audio, and I wish I would have physically read it. So with all that being said, physically read it, pick up this book, love it so much. It matches my nails, and I love that. The last book I have to share with you is A Photo Finish by Elsie Silver. This is, I don't know if it's her only second chance romance, and it's like a stretch for being second chance, but I'm counting it. I loved this book. So this book starts off with our female and male characters. You see that they've had an online kind of past, if that makes sense, where they send pictures back and forth. Well, they chat back and forth. Our main male character doesn't want the commitment of a relationship, and she is just like trying to do this thing online. She meets him, and she wants more. She wants to see him and send pictures and stuff like that, and he does not want that. So they kind of break it off. And the next time they see each other, I think she's I forgot what it's called, but she rides like bulls or horses. No, she rides horses, I think. She like trains or something with them. And he is back in town, and she injures herself, so she has to stay in the main house with him, and they kind of rekindled this thing. She realizes what happens. She starts to figure out why he didn't want to show more of himself and like everything like that. And it was so good. This is one of my, I would say like 3rd, 4th. Elsie Silver just knows how to write a book. Do you know what I mean? Like, she knows how to write a damn book, and I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was beautifully written, and I don't want to say anything else, but just know I gave it 4.5 stars. It was absolute, almost perfection. If I would have read this before the Chestnut Spring series, which is Heartless, Flawless, Powerless, I would have given it 5 stars, but her writing has progressed a lot in that series, but I still adored the second chance romance in a way. Kind of second chance. They almost had a thing, but didn't. Now they're rekindling it. They basically did. Like, they just never admitted their feelings. So that's why I'm counting it. But thank you so much for watching. Drop me a red heart emoji because I'm wearing red lipstick and I never wear red lipstick. So drop me red heart emojis. But thank you so much for watching. Also, drop your favorite second chance romances in the comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content from me. As always, I hope you're living a love life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.